Sucio Talks Podcast, Oakland. Chef Ryan Pinto, not the bean, but the man.
we can settle for beans. So
It's all good, Chef. How you doing? Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, it's about 9:30 in the morning.
Great early start.
Here in Oakland, yeah. You were here for Carla Marro's episode.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know Carla?
Carla and I worked together at Acquerello back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. I had just started, and she'd just come in for her stage, actually.
Yeah.
Her little tasting. And that's how we kind of like know each other. So
Okay.
we started then, and we've gone all the way from there. We know each other for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we've had our ups and downs, I would say.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think we're
both very strong personalities.
Oh.
You know,
I am unfiltered.
Hey.
And I don't give a shit. I'm
it's all
sorry.
good, Chef. Well, I thought it was cool that she brought you because we had talked before about doing the show. Never happened, but here we are. So grateful to have you on.
I'm so glad to be here.
You know?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So Ryan Pinto, what are you doing right now?
I currently work as a cook at Acquerello.
Okay.
So I did take a step back from what I was doing originally, but you know, it's a step in the right direction, and it's something that's helping me right now.
Where'd you take a step back?
So I was a sous chef before this,
Okay.
and I was kind of like I got too much into it, and it's like working long hours, really, and the pay was decent, but it's like the stress, the excessive amount of like politics and stuff like that. Not a big fan of it. I personally am like, I'm driven by work. Let's work. Like, you know, let's put our mind to it and let's focus on what the job is. Not all this other bullshit that comes with it.
And so as a sous, where were you a sous?
I was a sous chef at Engler first,
okay.
and then at Sal.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a little stunned, but I think I needed to take the step back in order to like refocus, recenter myself, try to focus on different things. I also want to study finance.
For sure.
So,
Okay. There you go.
That's always building on skills. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I have a little bit of experience with finance studying, because if you study in India, where I'm from, where I grew up at least,
Yeah.
you need to study multiple facets of each business. And they don't necessarily teach you like cooking in specific.
Yeah.
It's always something that is built upon, and it's always something that is like growing. And they try to teach you a broad perspective, and then you kind of like narrow it down. So you always will learn like a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, a little bit of finance, a little bit of cooking, a little bit of front of house, housekeeping. So like wherever you want to take your direction, you kind of like formulate and like design it to your curated experience after that. So it's pretty nice.
Okay.
So now I'm at Acquerello.
There you go. You know, I think it's a lot of people look at that like, oh, I went from sous chef to cook as some sort of negative thing, but I think that it's positive a lot of times, especially too after you become executive chef. Like, yeah, take a step back and go be a cook somewhere. The world may look at it and be like, oh, what are you doing?
Who the
fuck cares, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't
What is
matter.
your problem?
Yeah.
Like, that's my decision.
Yeah.
Are you part of my life?
The best thing I've ever seen was fucking Chef Matt Abe from Gordon Ramsay. He came and staged at Meadowood, and I was like, this dude's like picking my herbs. There was no like, he was cleaning. You know, he didn't give a shit. He was just like, I'm just here to be a stage. I think more executive chefs should do that. You know,
I think like as you grow up into the ranks in the kitchen, I think everyone gets very cocky in a certain way.
yeah,
People get like, oh, I'm the shit. And like, you know, this is beneath me to do. And you see it a lot more in kitchens these days, where people are like, or certain people in management are like, this is not my job. And they will tell it outright on your face that, is this really something that I want to be doing? Like,
right.
You know, they don't really emphasize that you lead by example.
Right.
Leading by example just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And
I think the restaurant cultures kind of did that I don't know where that comes from.
It comes from a lot of things. It's like, because the more you higher up in management you go and the longer time you spend in a place, the more you kind of tend to
feel entitled,
kind of think like the business is yours at this point, and that like, they cannot function without you. And with that comes the same problem where people are just like, in that position, just nose up in the air, calling people out on their shit. And then like, but when they try to do like the worst thing that could ever happen to them is when they try to do a project and they fuck up, and now they have to explain to the cook that they fucked up, but they will never take the blame. They will always blame extenuating circumstances.
Right.
That, this product probably wasn't right. Like, did we get it from the right purveyor? Or this is not right. Like, this is wrong. Like, we must have gotten this spice wrong. Like, an amount of different reasons. But like, they won't admit to their mistake as well. It's like, I've seen it way too many times, and I'm just like, that was also one of the reasons I was like, you know what? Let me take a step back. And you know what? I'm fine being a cook, working 8 hours a day, and, going home and actually working on my mental health.
Yeah.
Because working those long hours and not giving yourself enough time and space and not separating your personal life from your professional life really fucks it up for yourself. You get into your own head, you start thinking things that are probably not even true, and you just turn into this entire catastrophe, if I have to put it so simply. And it's just a spiral from there. And that's why I think not too long ago I saw a single thread job listing, and one of the categories, because I like to stay updated, just to let you know, I like to stay updated on what's out there.
That's a good place to stay updated, man. Culinary agents, that shit will tell you about shit opening.
Absolutely. It tells you how many jobs are available in a city, what is going on, what are their benefits. One of single thread's benefits is personal time for mental health, and which I think is absolutely essential for chefs.
Yeah.
Chefs should know how to take care of their mental health. It's something that is not talked about. We go through it on a daily, and we just find a reason not to admit to it.
Right.
Because we throw ourselves into work, or we just avoid the entire subject altogether. Kind of sad. But
how do you think we fix that?
You fix it by starting to care about yourself a little more. You need to care about yourself. If you don't care about yourself, you're always going to be that person who kind of like is stuck in his own head. And like, also it comes down to also managers talking to their employees one-on-one.
Yeah.
If you see someone is struggling, you need to like go up to them and be like, hey, what's going on? Give me like, give me a rundown. Like, do like you can do a review every 3 months or 6 months. Just like sit down, see where they're at, go over their goals and see if they're like actually aligning, they're growing, learning. Because a lot of restaurants only emphasize on work. And like, they don't take enough interest into people's lives. I'm not saying you have to be like completely invested.
Yeah.
But you need to like put yourself, like give them the opportunity to speak up. Speaking is, I think, the most important. I'm very pro mental health because I think people need to feel like they have that space and they need to have that mental capability to do the job. And if they're struggling with anything in their life, it is going to roll over into their professional life.
Yeah.
So
you're right. That's where most of the
that's where it starts.
Lashing out.
Oh,
I read a thing the other day. It was a meme, but it was like every time your dad yelled at you, it wasn't because you weren't holding the flashlight right. It was because he couldn't fix whatever the fuck it was.
Exactly. We always find like no truer words could have been spoken, honestly, because it's like we always try to find, like, when it comes to health, we always find a reason. And I've seen this with countless chefs. You hurt your ankle. I need to be at work. I need to be at work. I need to fucking go. Like, I have a fucking prep day. I need to fucking do this. I can't fucking tell you how many times I've fucking heard that. I've walked into a kitchen and then been like, fuck, this guy again? Come on.
Just fucking falling apart.
Yeah, like you can see them, like, you know, it's like it's always the most frantic person that is like going through the hardest shit in their life. They just don't want to admit to it. And they are the people who work 14, 15 hours a day, slogging their ass off, and like, you know, instead of being about a 80% functional, they're like giving you a solid 45 or 50, which is kind of like subpar technically at certain fine dining levels. Yeah. Not saying that, you know, 40 or 50% is bad. It's just like you're not as effective and you're not mentally present, which is like, what are you doing?
I know. I mean, look, man, I was talking to somebody about therapy the other day, and they're like, that's not even the answer for everybody, right? And like, what is the answer? I think you really got to just sit there and search for it.
See, therapy it's still unproven. It's not a completely proven science, right? But it is at least a starting point. Therapy is kind of like a way to talk your things out, and the way psychology works also a little bit. I have a little bit of experience with psychology. So I studied it, like, and I took interest, did my research, and that's how I kind of know about it. And a lot to do with therapy is speech and talking. The reason why you talk is because it's important for you to understand where you are at. The you factor is so important. You need to understand yourself before you try to fix any of your problems. So in order for people to understand yourself, you start right at the base. You need someone, generally a person can go through 2, 3, 4 therapists to find the right one, because it's like you need to find someone that is going to match you on your level and who will help you understand your inconsistencies and kind of like bring you up from there. Well, they can prescribe medication and whatnot. Like, you know, you can get all these treatments, but at the end of the day, it's like a combination of medication. If it's that bad and you need medication, then like, you know, slow it down, of course. But like it's first understanding yourself and then addressing each problem as each individual, like, you know, subject. Yeah. And then kind of like gradually build from there, because then you start to like build defense mechanisms. You learn how to deal with it in the moment. If this happens, you need to step away and stuff like that. Right. It goes on from there.
You learn what emotion is what. Because sometimes that's confusing. You're like, am I mad or sad about this? You know, and if you don't take the time to fucking ask yourself, you fucking explode.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, and as chefs, we are trained to bury our feelings. Right. Look at all traditional kitchen setups. All about hierarchy. It's all about following the leader. Right. And what you are feeling in the moment or whatever is happening in your personal life probably doesn't even matter. And I understand it shouldn't. But at some point, if it is getting too bad, you know, you have to stand up and say something. And in hierarchy kitchens where it is very prevalent that you have to listen to that one person up top, and like they kind of like control all the like they can walk, like in certain kitchens you can like that one person walks into the room and it's kind of like the entire energy just gets sucked out of the place. Those type of kitchen
their
setups,
assholes tighten.
It's like everyone's like a little negative all of a sudden, and it's just like a whole it's like, you know,
start flexing on your station partner.
Exactly. It's like, you know,
how do you put this away?
Oh God, I used to be that person.
Yeah, I bet, Ryan. I bet.
Fucking hated it. I fucking hated it. I am sorry.
There you go.
I will never.
Whoever experienced Ryan's wrath, we're gonna have his phone number at the end of the episode.
I'll give you a list of names myself. I will hand it out.
There you go. Hand out the flyers. Well, you know, here on Sucio Talk, we take it all the way back. Where were you born?
So I'm born in Jacksonville, Florida, all the way down in Florida, like I think North Florida. Yeah.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, I only lived there for 8 months. Okay. For starters.
Got you.
So a little bit about my family background. I'm half Indian, half American. But like both my parents are Indian, but since I'm born American, I'm part American and Portuguese and a little bit of Africa in there. Like I'm a little mixed.
Right.
So I lived in Florida for 8 months, then moved to India, good old Mumbai, not the financial capital of India.
Okay.
So not the capital, like everybody fucking thinks, because the capital is Delhi. So leave Delhi alone.
Okay.
Mumbai is the financial capital, one of the wealthiest cities in India. Mumbai is the New York of the United States.
Okay.
It is bustling, booming, big cities, small town vibes.
Right.
Amazing. I love it there. One of my favorite cities in the entire world.
Yeah.
I go every 2 years because you need to bathe in that serenity. You need a little pollution. You need to like bathe in it. Like it's an experience, and like you can only experience.
Right.
You need to be there and like physically.
Does the garbage smell better than here?
Well, it really doesn't smell that much like garbage, but like it is a city in development, I will say, because it's like
Chef, all of our cities are in development. Let's not I don't think there's one city that's developed.
Well, look at San Francisco. It's
Chef,
a fucking it's a bloody dump.
It's a shithole over there. I mean, every city's trying to figure it out. Yeah,
sidewalks covered in shit
for sure.
There's a guy stooped over, completely methed out or something, and honestly, you're just like.
I'm looking at them and I'm like, damn, that's stretch. Look at that stretch.
The stoop. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
It's like they're like
really, that fentanyl thing.
That's because it makes you. Well, we can talk about that a little later. But going back to Mumbai,
you like some fentanyl or what? You're like, I've dabbled.
No. I don't. I'm sober. I only drink alcohol.
No
and
drogas.
Sin drogas. Está limpia.
Te entiendo. So Mumbai, what did your parents do?
Well, my mother was divorced, so I grew up with a single mom. And my mother is a lawyer.
She's like, peace, Dad. Did she leave him in Florida?
Well, technically, he left her, and like we got 2 divorces, and I lived in India with my mom for 20 years.
Do you have a relationship with your dad?
No, he passed away when I moved to the United States. Back again
got you.
God bless his soul. Rest in peace. Did not know the guy that well, but you know, I respect him, whatever he did. Like, you know, everybody makes mistakes in their life, and I think I did not know him that well to hold a grudge. But you know, whatever it may be.
Well, it seems like he was at least half of a good person, right?
Well, I'm glad that I'm born here, so I could come back anytime I want to.
Right. That is pretty dope. Maybe he did it for that reason.
Actually, my mother did that.
Okay, gotcha.
My mother.
So your mother was this calculated.
Oh, my mother has been the most calculated person her entire life. She knows. She's like. She's a little all over the place. I won't lie. I love her too. I love her to death because she has always supported me with all my dreams, all my goals. Yeah. She's a lawyer. She has her own practice in India.
Okay.
So she is not affiliated to any group or anything, any corporation. She runs solo her own thing. And I think our initial years were really hard because like we don't come from a wealthy background. Like we're like, you know, we're very lower. We were lower middle class, and then kind of like gradually as the years went on, kind of slowly grew up to like a middle class. Like
right.
Because like,
well, it's funny because middle class just kept growing with us over the years. We all thought that middle class was just going to stay middle class, and then we were going to get to that echelon one day. And I'm like, damn, man, I can't even buy a house.
It's like a niche sector. Like being upper class is like, because like class is a very big thing in India.
Yeah.
And like how it's like it's also defined by some people's surnames almost. It's
really?
Like in Hindu culture, certain people's surnames derive what kind of class they belong to.
Really?
So
what are the classes? Are they named?
So they're definitely named. Okay. So there's like the Dalits, which are the lowest, and then the highest, which are the Brahmins, and then you have, like, if I have to put it in English terms, it's like you have the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. Then you have the lower class, middle class, upper class, and even in those there are subdivisions.
Right. In terms of Dalits, are these like homeless people?
They're not. Like technically, in India, there's one in Mumbai specifically. People will find a way to make a home. Okay. Like, you know, Even if they have to like put up a tent and keep their street clean, they will do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the mentality in India. It's
So
like,
there is no homeless.
technically
right?
there isn't.
Okay.
I mean, there are like there are kids that beg on the streets.
Right.
Which I feel sad for, but they technically make more money than any Indian out there.
Mm.
Because you know how many people give you like a 10 rupee note can go a long way.
Mhm.
You can get like at least a half meal in 10 rupees.
There you go.
I mean, these prices may vary because I haven't been in 2
prices
years.
may vary. Homeless donation pricing.
I'm just being honest.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, I mean, yeah.
if you're lower class, seems to me like 3 classes up, right? If the way you were saying it.
I mean,
what exactly separates you other than your surname? Is it your job?
I mean,
also?
it's also like the job that you do, like a lot. So Indian job market is very tough.
Mm-hmm.
It is I've never seen a market so cutthroat.
Yeah.
People will, even if they hate their jobs, they will continue to work there. Not the reason
You
why.
can't just go anywhere.
I'm being honest. The reason why is because you cannot it's hard to get a job. When you get a job, you shut the fuck up and keep it.
Right.
Even if it's fucking paying you shit, even if it's like, you know, you are able to only pay your rent with it, you shut up and take it. Because the problem with Indian market is that they like stability.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to go out and look for another job. And also people just don't hire. But if they fire you, for example, there's 100,000 people right behind you for the same job.
Right.
There's options in the market. So if you want to go, please measure the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Hindi, there is a saying there, rasta napna chalu kar, means if you don't like this, start measuring the road and move the fuck on. Like, bye. They are very brutal, and it's not an easy market to get on in.
Mm-hmm.
So people who even hate their jobs will continue working it because they need to milk the cow.
Right.
They need to get their cow in, and they need to get it going.
Mm-hmm.
So like you'll see a lot of these guys like hard 9 to 5, but they will work those hours, and like no matter what the job is, they'll just do it. And I think Indians are some of the most hardworking people that I know, because even under extenuating circumstances, no matter what may be happening in their life, they show up, do the job, and get it all done. Big respect for my people back home. And it's like, sometimes it gets like too much or anything, they won't complain. They're just not complainers. And I love that about them.
That's dope. That's a good it's a good view into a place I've never been to. You know? Is there a lot of people working doubles?
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone.
Side hustles, biggest business.
Yeah.
So I have several friends. I come from so I live in the technical downtown of Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
So
downtown Mumbai, God,
it looks.
Damn.
Trust me, downtown Mumbai is
fucking
not as
loud
glamorous.
fuck over there.
Oh, it's loud everywhere in India. You'll be screaming. You probably wouldn't be able to hear your own scream if you were getting killed.
Right.
It is that loud. Yeah, and you have it is a very busy city. It's almost there's a billion people in India.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like say about almost 3 or 4 million is in Mumbai.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way you can even hear your own scream. So it's an interesting city, I would say.
Yeah, but when you're there in that city, does it feel like New York? It's like, I mean, there's a lot of money there, right? So there's a lot of international travel and business going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You will find India to be so culturally diverse. Probably there's nothing that you like. Think about even a simple store like Zara owns a full building in India. Any office owns a full building. It's like, it's so international. Chase, one of our banks in the United States, actually has their entire call center set up in India. And Indians run it always. If you call any Chase representative, even right now, an Indian will answer the phone. It's never because they outsources to there, and It's one of the biggest markets for call centers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see it's like very multicultural, a lot of tourists, a lot of travelers, a lot of expats actually as well.
Okay.
And it's easy for them to stay there.
Mm.
So India has a requirement you stay for 5 years in the country, and you don't even need a corporation to help you with it.
Really?
You can stay there for 5 years and you get a permit and you can continue to stay there.
Anybody can do this.
And you can you can pick up your passport today, get a visa to India, and say you want to stay there for longer than 30 days, or longer than 90 days, because that's the visa limit. Tell them you show up, and then you go to the regional office for foreigners, and you just basically tell them your intention to stay here is longer than 90 days, and they basically issue you a 1-year visa for like $200, and you can stay there for a year, and then you can keep renewing it. And as long as you have the means and the finances to support yourself, you can continue doing it. And that kind of like and when you have that, you can like, then if you want to look for a job or stuff like that, you can kind of just like update your residency status.
Right.
And it's like, it's more seamless. It's not like here where you need to get a company to sponsor you and then go through that entire laborious process of like this visa, this attorney, this shit, that. It's fucking, that drives me insane. I did it for UK and I fucking hated it. So
you have a passport for UK?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I have an American passport and I have an Indian lifelong visa.
What were you trying to do in the UK?
Well, I was studying there. Okay. Well, we have to get to that part.
Okay.
We go step by step.
Yeah, step by step. So so you were born. You went over to India, and your mom's working hard. What were your interests as a child? What were you doing?
Wow, great question. I was kind of like living life vicariously, honestly. So in India, the culture, it's not like here. I find like I grew up a lot different than American kids.
Yeah.
American kids generally grow up in front of a TV.
Yeah.
Kind of like supervised, like parents take you to the playground, you play around with like other kids, kind of like, and then just come home. For us in India, what it is like, my mother was never at home. So, and her parents, who were pretty old, like they would take care of us.
Yeah.
And we basically were told to like, just go down. There's a compound. You go down, you make friends, you hang out, you play, you come back by 8 o'clock. And you kind of like, I always love food. I used to always, street food in India is probably one of the best. I don't care what people say. This water and that water and the fucking flies. I'm telling you, that shit fucking is good. Like, you will be fucking, it may come out of your fucking rears later, but fucking good.
Hey,
like,
chef,
that shit is so good.
You gotta, sacrifice yourself sometimes.
Exactly, because if you want to experience some of the best food straight from people's homes, like setting up small businesses in India is like, some people just get up one day and they're like, I'm going to sell, say, vada pav, which is like the Indian burger of Mumbai specifically. And they're like, I'm going to sell vada pav tomorrow. And they just put up a stall, put up a little burner, put some oil. You're ready to go.
Done.
Done and dusted. Don't give a shit about people who come and fucking clear you out. Like, just get it started. At least do something that, like, because a lot of people like struggle with finances. So my interests were like, I would love just going from little areas in the town and exploring, love parks, love the beach, loved cooking with my mom on a Sunday. That was kind of like my starting point into getting into cooking. It's like just cooking with my mom. Love watching a few TV shows, because we did not get TV until like later on, because my mother was like very strict about, you need to get an education. Education was a big thing for us. So we studied quite a lot. So in Indian families, especially middle class, they always emphasize on a good education. No matter how much it breaks the bank, education is super important. And I'm really grateful that I got to study all the way up to a master's degree, technically. So I'm super grateful. And like, I was a nerd. So I was a bookworm.
Okay.
So
what were you reading?
I was reading textbooks from school. So like algebra, geometry. I wasn't that great. Like in school, I don't like, for us, schooling system is a little different than here. I think you guys have like grades, and then you go to junior high, and then you go to college. And
what's it like over there?
It's kind of like it's kind of similar, but then you have like junior high is kind of like a basis for like getting into like college, or like we go straight to college, where you like kind of get your bachelor's degree, and then if that same college will probably offer a master's program as well. So
right. So,
it really depends, and like the setups are a lot different. So I grew up mostly like reading mostly textbooks, and of course you learn in India in the education system you actually have to learn 3 languages compulsory. There is so you learn English for sure. You cannot skip English, and you need to learn English, you need to learn the national language, and you'll need to learn the state language.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
there's a difference here. School me real quick.
Okay, so English is, of course, we follow British English as opposed to U.S. English. It's very different.
Do you get taught in the accent?
No, you speak in an Indian accent.
Well, I mean, who's the teacher for this?
Well, they're
flying in Brits?
They're not flying in Brits.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's Indians. Indians are more... Mumbai, you can find more people that speak English than any of the other regions, and you will find all the regional languages. Okay, gotcha. So why British English? Because the British ruled us, and we follow the British education system to this day.
That's right.
So 200 years of colonial rule.
Is it like fuck the Queen still, or?
Oh, absolutely. People hate British. Like, Indians are very taken in by foreigners. Like if they see a foreigner that doesn't look like them, they will just stand and stare, and they'll be like, what is this?
Really?
Who is this? It's like, because it's like, it's not like that anymore. It might not be like that anymore, but like they do, like, they're like, wow, where is this person from? They just want to like say hi. Like,
they want to know.
Yeah, they want to know where you're from. So since the British ruled India for 200 years, we still follow we're in the same trajectory. So we follow and then you need to learn the national language, which is Hindi. Which has different alphabets than the state. Alphabets for the state language and Hindi are similar but different. Similar in the way they're written but spoken differently. So you need to learn both, because that's just like a rule, a standard outline rule.
How do you know when to use which language? Like
it depends on who you're talking to. So depending on what locale you're in, there will be a majority of people that speak, say, for example, Urdu or Hindi. Nationally, everybody is required to know Hindi. Down south, it's a little different. It's English and Hindi, English and their state language, because their language is so much more different. So out of all the 29 states in India, each one speaks a different language.
Oh, Jesus.
So the diversity is every 30 minutes in a different town, you hear a different language.
Right.
So,
and these languages are different, but they're close.
Hindi and Marathi are close. That's the state language is Marathi, which is very close. But the others are very different. Like Gujarati and Punjabi are like North Pole and South Pole. Like,
where do they come from?
They come from...
And how come they're so close together but so different?
Because India is a secular nation. It is a combination of different religions, different castes. Everyone is welcome to live under one roof. So we had a Persian invasion, we had the Mughals arriving, we had the British. So that's how, like, it's a long-standing history. Like the Indus Valley, everything is all connected.
Yeah.
Like it's like there were regional groups that spoke different languages, and then technically Pakistan, the subcontinent of India, and Bangladesh was all one. That made up the entire country. And after the British kind of invaded, the Mughals invaded, the Portuguese came, the Portuguese left, the British left, the Mughals got fucking kicked out and killed. And what was left is basically a bunch of different groups of people just like, combined and kind of like struggling for their own little thing. Because like if you go to Gujarat, which is a state right above Maharashtra, where Mumbai is, they don't eat any non-vegetarian food. You're technically it's most restaurants are vegetarian there because there's a high population of Gujaratis which do not eat any protein.
So does this mean that there's no like if they don't eat meat, do they drink dairy?
They do drink dairy.
So there are cows on farms.
Well, technically, you're not allowed to kill a cow in the entirety of India.
Oh, really?
If there is a cow walking in front of your car, you slow the fuck down and you let the cow walk its own way.
Like bears over here?
Yeah. Like
Same respect.
The point is, it is the holiest animal in India.
Yeah.
And like people pray to it, people do offerings to it, and like, you know.
So we must just be horrific to fucking...
Yeah, technically we are committing sacrileges because we're eating fucking beef and shit. Where's that fucking A5 Wagyu cow from me?
I know, right? Straight up, dog.
That shit is oishi.
Is there so when you open restaurants like I'm sure there's sushi restaurants over there, right?
Not really. I mean, it's up and coming.
In an international place like Mumbai?
It's up and coming right now, but it's like eating raw seafood is not something
definitely
Indians
not.
do.
Okay. Everything.
If you should know one thing about Indians, they like their shit cooked. Cooked. Even that bloody fucking chicken, which should take you only 30 minutes, will be fucking pressure cooked for an hour.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. So
yeah.
wait, in Mumbai, so then what is your other cuisine? Like, you know, here we have, let's say, I think, Chinese food. American Chinese food is the most prolific because it's in every city. Everyone's had it at some point, right? And that's like, for me, that's our other cuisine.
Correct.
Because it's like burgers and fries and fucking Chinese food. Like that's so where is it over there?
In India, each region has their own cuisine.
Right. Well, I gather that, but what's the other cuisine aside from like
then
the main one?
In like Indian Chinese food is very big.
Okay.
Indian Chinese, it started in Kolkata, which is it's in the state of West Bengal.
Yeah.
But West Bengal is not on the west, it's on the east.
Oh.
And because when Bengal split from Bangladesh, Bangladesh was called East Bangladesh, and then Bengal was called West Bengal because it's to the west.
Right.
But for me, it's in the east. So it started over there. That's where the culture began. A lot of Chinese settlements began, and they kind of like assimilated their cuisine with Indian culture and the spices and the flavor profiles, and like a whole new cuisine emerged.
Yeah.
So the first Chinatown in India was in Kolkata, and it's probably I think people should try it. Like, they don't do it right here. Like, there's chow mein, there's fried rice, there's like Szechuan chili. I can like go on with a list, chicken 65, and like, oh my God, there's like a whole list of foods that is amazing. And like, of course, you have the burgers and fries now. You have the Taco Bell, you have the Popeyes, you have all these franchise restaurants that have made their impact there. McDonald's in India is probably an experience for every foreigner because it's not the same. They have actually adjusted their entire business model to the Indian mindset.
Really?
And they have the Maharaja Mac, and then they have the McChicken.
Right.
They have like spicy chicken
What
wraps.
are they using for their beef?
They don't do beef.
What do they do? Lamb?
Chicken.
Just chicken. Everything's ground chicken.
Chicken, fish. They don't really do lamb, or like ideally goat meat's more famous in India.
Okay.
We have a very large Muslim population, and Muslims love goat meat in India. Hands down, they actually raise the goats. They feed it and everything. And when it's Eid, they actually kill that goat.
How come you can kill a goat, but you can't kill a cow?
Because it's holy. It's so... Going back centuries, India was always a Hindutva land. Hindu means it's the majority religion. And in Hindu culture, because they followed the Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is linked to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva's animal is Nandi Bail, which is the cow.
Okay.
It has always been a religious figure. You cannot kill a god because we consider the religion, like, as a standard of hospitality in India, you will always hear them say Atiti Devo Bhava, which means guest is God. And they see God in everything. And it's like in a rock, in like a little Shivling, in Lakshmi, in Shiv, in a cow. Because these are all figures that are linked to the Bhagavad Gita and how their religion teaches them. So for them to consume cow's milk is religious, and it's actually an offering. A shivling is like a little stone where Shiv was like, it's like the closest representative of like Shiv. And basically the offering for that shivling is actually milk.
Oh.
So it's like a sacred, it's very sacred for people.
You're schooling me a lot. This is very interesting. Crazy. So how long before you came back to the United States?
After I lived in India for 20 years.
Okay.
And
so you finished college?
I did my bachelor's in hospitality studies from a college called Sophia's.
Right.
But that's where I was able to kind of like get the framework for working in the hospitality industry.
It's a very hotel oriented.
Oh, very much
space,
so.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, if you go to India and you see the hotels, they put all the hotels combined in the United States to shame.
Really?
It is it's an experience. They really like they
whole
have
career.
I think Asia does hotels better than anyone else in the world. I think it's hospitality, it's food, diversity. There's at least 4 restaurants in any hotel. There's always a patisserie. There's always something for each person, whether it's Indian, Chinese, whether it's Indian, whether it's like Asian, Middle Eastern. You will find something of everything. Some people don't even need to leave their hotel to experience another cuisine.
Yeah.
It's a one-stop shop. Like even like, for example, no matter what kind of tourism you go for, you can actually even shop in the hotel. You can go to a Louis Vuitton. You can go to a Gucci. It's like people who like luxury don't even have to even leave the hotel. They could be living in their suite on the top floor and then just go down to the first floor and basically enjoy a full luxury spending spree and then just go back to their room and chill the fuck out.
Damn.
It's like, it's amazing how hotels are set up. And when I started working at 17, that's before I started my bachelor's, I started working in a hotel illegally.
Right. How illegally?
Well, I was 17 and the legal age for work was 18. So I worked without pay for my first job. And it was kind of like a summer internship. And probably where I fell in love with food and did my bachelor's, studied there and finished my bachelor's. And then I was like, okay, either I have the option of staying here and being someone's bitch for the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah.
And being a slave to the Indian hotel system where people do not ever leave and you're always stuck in that position for like 30 years. Or I can take life into my own hands and kind of carve out a different path for myself.
Yeah.
And so I chose that path and it took me to England first. I moved to England in 2017 and I moved to this town, the second largest city, Birmingham, where I studied my master's in culinary arts management, a completely culinary dedicated course. And basically I didn't really care about what they were teaching, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I did pay attention and whatever. And like I did my dissertation, I did my thesis, and then I got my master's, but I mostly did it for like living abroad and like really understanding what, like, you know, living by myself is and kind of like gaining a little momentum in myself. I did not work at any fine dining places up until this point. I was like I was kind of like doing stuff from home. I would make cakes for people. Yeah. I would do events for them. Like if you had a birthday, I would cook for you.
Oh, dope.
And like, you know, I would do stuff like that. And I worked in like a few restaurants in hotels. So I really don't have any fine dining experience up until this point. And like I lived there for 2 years. And then I decided like Brexit, the little bitch, decided to show up. And it really ruined it because I really love England so much. It's such an amazing city. Country-wise, it's amazing. Like the standards of living are much cheaper. You can actually enjoy yourself. There's a lot of opportunities. But with Brexit happening, that was kind of like a big setback because it's like no one was hiring. And what are you going to do in a city where no one's hiring? You kind of look for the next best option. So that's when I started applying for good old culinary agents. I came to the rescue. And I applied in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Sacramento.
Where'd you apply to in those cities?
I applied it. Oh my God. It's such a long time ago. I don't even remember. I remember I applied at Bouchon because Bouchon replied back to me. And I applied at this restaurant that was newly opening back then. It was 165 in San Francisco downtown. And I applied for a bunch of restaurants in New York, LA, Seattle. None of them got back, but 165 did because they were a new concept that was opening up. They were basically a multi-level cuisine concept in one building. So they have a patisserie on the first floor. Then they have a bistro on the second. Then they have a bar and they have a fine dining restaurant all the way up on top. So it was kind of like a cool concept. And I was
kind of
part
like
of
an international Italy kind of thing.
Technically, but it's more French.
Right.
It's all French. And that was kind of like the way I got into it. That's how I got here. And I moved here back in 2019 of May. And then that's where I started working. That's how I came back. After 22 years at that point.
So in 2019, you worked at 165.
Yep.
Okay. Who was your chef there?
Claude Latohic. I might be pronouncing this wrong. Sorry if you're looking at this, but he came from Joa Robuchon in Las Vegas. He was the chef there and he left, and I think the next guy, I don't remember his name, he took over. But he came from there, and he was backed by Alexander Steakhouse. So that's how he opened the entire concept.
Right.
Initially, it was really hard, I think, because it was a different culture, did not know the restaurants, never worked really in fine dining. I was in the patisserie, but it kind of was like I wanted to always work in fine dining and like always had the drive for it, and kind of like working there. It was like what really got me at that job was like expectations. They bring your hopes up and then they just drop you right at the last minute. So like I was told, like I started in the patisserie and I made it very clear that, I want to like grow. I want to continue moving up the ladder. And they were like, yeah, we're going to make this happen. We're going to make this happen. And then when it was time to show the fuck up and like get it happening, they were like, oh, this happened. We're just going to delay your transition by 2 weeks.
The age-old carrot.
I was like, bitch,
what
do you think I'm going to like fucking waste my time?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Right.
And like the chef at that, like, my manager was like, really, I'm not going to lie. She was really mean and she was a bitch.
Yeah.
And she was like, she would say everything in a condescending way, make you feel like shit, like you were nothing, and like absolute toxic energy. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this right now. And then I started applying for other jobs, and Sorella, I worked at Sorella for 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
Who was the chef there?
Alex Hong. I mean, I think like at that point I was trying to pull too much off and trying to do too much instead of like trying to focus on one thing. So I left Sorella after 2 days of work. And then
what did you do at Sorella for 2 days?
I was shadowing the garde manger cook for then, and then I did not like the vibes over there at that point, and then that's when I decided to move on.
Was it hardcore white kitchen?
Not really. It was quite diverse. I think there was one. There were a lot of white people. One guy and one Filipino who acted more white than Filipino. But I'm everyone to their own. I respect that.
Yeah,
you do you.
Yeah, do you?
But not for me at that point because it was like just. I think like I was super new, and I think like that I was not ready for that yet. But I went back. I worked at 165 for 5 months, and then I applied at Acquerello.
Okay.
And that was kind of like my first Michelin Star restaurant I ever worked at, period. And that's where I started my journey. And Chef Suzette, love her so much. I respect her, appreciate her, and just honestly, she is one of the best people that I've ever worked for throughout my life. And she kind of like took me under her wing. She trained me standards, responsibility, kind of building blocks, foundation for being a good chef. And I worked there for a year and a half. Pandemic hit. We lost our jobs. I mean, we were still employed with them. They were nice. They were super nice to pay our health insurance throughout the most of the pandemic, which was a savior for us.
That's a damn blessing,
exactly, because most places were just like they just cut you off. And they were like, figure your shit out. And I was really appreciative, and I stayed with the company for a year and a half before. And then during the pandemic also, I was like doing other jobs. Like I was working in a grocery store, in a deli in a grocery store. I was working at Water Bar. I was working on a food truck. I was doing a bunch of weird jobs. And it's just like, just to keep myself afloat at that point, because like we were coming out and then we went back into the lockdown. And it's like, the back and forth was just really frustrating. So the deli was a safer option for me because thanks actually to shout out to Chef Seth. He was the one who connected me because he used to live across the street from this deli and he was very good friends with the owner. Yeah. Was looking for someone to make Indian curries. And which is my specialty. Thank you.
There you go. There you go, Chef. Shout out to Chef Seth. Damn, that's crazy. I gotta have him on the show. So that's cool that they paid you, man. Costco paid me the whole time, my whole salary. So yeah. That's fucking, I know. I was like, damn, tax
write-off.
For sure, right? Yeah. That PPP. Gotta give it to the brown folk, Shout out.
So I landed up at the deli, and I was like, you know what? This deli is not working for me anymore. And by this time, restaurants were opening up. We were at capacity 82. Like, you can have up to like 50 to 60 people in a restaurant.
That's spread out.
I had applied for a bunch of restaurants over the pandemic back in 2019, like Angler, Boulevard, and other places. And it so happens that the ex-CDC from Acquerello was the executive chef at Angler. So he hit Chef Suzette up, and Chef Suzette put in a good reference for me. And
what's his name?
Jacob Bruck.
Jacob Bruck, okay.
Yeah, so Jacob Bruck hit me up, and he sent me a message on Culinary Agents. I have such a long-standing history with this app. Dude, I love it. Yeah,
Culinary Agents.
Well, shout out to Culinary Agents if you need a forward from me.
Yeah, exactly.
And if
Ryan
you need
to, if you need a food podcast to sponsor Culinary Agents, check me out, dog. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Let's go.
Contact David Sucio on this podcast. Link in the comment section.
There you go, baby. Let's go. Shameless plug, always.
Yeah, I love it.
Always.
If it gets somebody business, I will do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
I will market the shit out of you.
Well, some people who have successful relationships on Tinder should get Tinder to pay for the wedding.
Exactly.
That would be cool.
Links matter when it comes to weddings.
That's right.
And you should do a wedding in Asia. This is too expensive here.
You
like in India, you can like pay someone, get a wedding planner, and they'll literally get bamboo and like cloth, and they'll make a fucking venue wherever the fuck you want. Like over here, I'm like, what the fuck? You guys are paying $25,000 for a fucking venue? Like, bitch, come to India. You'll pay like $5,000. In $5,000, you'll do your whole wedding with food and drinks and everything.
I think it's the fact that your family's not gonna come to your fucking India wedding. They're gonna be like, this motherfucker, India.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It'll only be the best wedding of your life. It's okay.
I'll tell you
Have
what,
you seen the Ambani wedding? Like, hello.
I got to get some Indian homies because when you get invited to their wedding, they send you clothes.
Exactly.
Shit. And I'm like, a whole fucking wardrobe. I'm like, this is crazy.
I mean, I'm not Hindu, so unfortunately my wedding is not. I mean,
you're not gonna be in garb.
In Goan culture, because my family background is Goan. Right. In Goan culture, it's very like there is a roast, and then it's a 3-day process. So there's the roast, which is kind of like they basically paint you in a whole bunch of cocktail juices and
that's
like turmeric. They paint you in turmeric, and that's kind of like sign like, oh, she's getting married, this and that, and then you then go to like there's another ceremony after that the following day, which kind of is like you're preparing the bride for her departure from your house.
Yes.
And then there's the actual wedding. Which is so cute. And in Catholic, because I grew up Catholic actually. So
love Catholic.
I mean, I'm anything but that right now. I'm
fuck agnostic. It up, then say you're sorry on Sunday. It's all good.
So yeah. And then where were we at?
I don't know, man. We were in religion, getting married. You came back. You were, I think you got hired at Angler. I think.
Then from Jacob Bruck, I think I've diverted quite a bit. Yeah, but back to Jacob Bruck. We had an interview. We kind of like got into it, and we got talking. I went for my preliminary. Then he called me in for a stage and then offered me a job.
Okay.
I started as a commis there. From commis, I became a CDP.
Mm-hmm.
CDP, I became a junior sous. From junior sous, I became a sous. From sous, I became a senior sous. And all throughout that process.
They got 3 different tiers of sous?
I mean, I kind of
God damn.
I mean, technically, it's all like on paper, it's all like it's just a title.
Right,
but in reality, it's like.
It's all the same.
It's all the same job.
Like the junior sous does the same shit as the senior sous.
Exactly. It's all like having these titles is just, it's a title.
Right.
It's not exactly the job.
Right.
Like as a junior, like I don't think any kitchen I've ever worked at really clearly outlines what you're going to do.
Right.
Like they will give you a basic framework because it's like, it's so constantly evolving. And I think like, you know, it's good that it's that way, but in a way it's also bad because it's like with the current state of how things are with people, especially, they like something more defined and given a structure to work under.
Nobody likes no structure anymore.
No one likes to, like, you know, people like
used to be able to give people one task at a time. Mm-hmm. Hey, cut the chives. Give me a pint of chives.
Yeah.
Now it's like you give somebody a job like that, they're gonna be like, yeah, but what's after that?
Exactly. They want to have like a little framework.
Don't worry.
So technically, there may be all these tasks and whatever, but these titles or whatever. But you know, one person that stuck with me throughout this entire process, I think, was Paul Chung.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, hands down, wealth of knowledge. One of the hardest people to work with, but if you get through the initial layers, solid gem of a person.
Yeah.
Very, very sweet, very direct with his communication.
Mm-hmm.
No, he cuts out all the middle bullshit. Like, you know, all that sugary stuff.
Yeah. Fuck all that.
A lot of people sugarcoat shit. He doesn't. He's
right.
like, fuck this.
Is that why it's difficult? You said it was harder to work with him?
It's harder to work with him because he's super unfiltered. He will tell you things as is, and he wants things a specific way.
Right.
And you have to maintain that level of expectance.
Yeah.
And he expects that from you every fucking day, whether you're fucking dying on your fucking deathbed or whether you're whatever. And that's I respect that a lot because it's like he's not just someone who talks it, he does it. He does it with you all the time. And no matter where he has to be, if he shows up, he's going to do the job. And he will be present for the entire process. He'll be like, he will show you how to do it. He will walk you through the base. He will go through that. And he actually schooled me on how to build my palate. And no one has ever done that for me. And I'm so grateful to him. So grateful. And it's like, he was the one who offered me a junior sous position just to see, because I was actually trying to leave after my 1 year mark. And he kind of like prevented me from making the worst mistake of my life. And because I was working at Milan Lux.
Oh, you were?
I was, because like, I was trying to leave to get more money and be a sous. And he's like, okay, I'll offer you a junior sous. This is where you're going to get paid. And like, you know, let's go. Like, you know, let's see what you got. And I think like, you know, you told me that you don't want to work for someone who doesn't give a shit and is like just a talker. You're going to work with me directly. And he kept up on his word, which I respect a lot, because in this industry, I think everyone has experienced it at some point of some level at their time that they come across a person who does not, like, you know, who will talk. And then when it comes to deliver, nowhere to be fucking found. And it was really refreshing to have someone who's actually almost held my hand and walked me through the entire sous chef process. Because of him, I could do, like, I may not have worked all the stations, but at least I got a better foundation than others would have. Like, you know, everybody worked a station, everybody did other things. I was able to do ordering. I was able to manage a team. I actually learned Spanish on the job because my morning crew, I was the AM sous, and I had to work with an entire Mexican team. And they spoke Spanish. And if I wanted to get anything done, I had to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Because they like, and that's how I figured out how to do this job, do all, and then I got into paperwork. I did that. I typed up recipes. I did this. I did a lot of things, and he really backed me up. He showed me how to like go to purveyors, do research, find out where this product is coming from.
Yeah.
It was like, it was not just one row. I think I learned so much from it because I could not quantify it in words. It's so much. And I hope he sees this, and shout out to him. I love him to death, and I will never, ever forget what he's done for me. And from there, I kind of, after the whole Paul Chung situation and working there for 2.5 years, I decided to move on. Reasons I technically don't want to go into because it was just not the best time, and certain individuals caused a certain amount of unneeded stress. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. Time to move on. 2.5 years is a long amount of time.
Definitely.
I like change, and as should everybody else. And I decided to move on into a different direction. I left. Originally, I was supposed to move back to India, but then I was like, I need money to move back to India. So I decided to stay. And I worked at Sal. Did not really enjoy it there as much as I would.
Sal?
Yeah, Sal.
S-A-L?
S-S-A-L. It means rice in Korean.
Okay.
It's also a Michelin Star restaurant, 1 Michelin Star, Korean, contemporary Korean food. Jinsube, shout out to you. Thank you for hiring
got you. Jinsube. Yeah. I worked with him when he was an intern at the CIA.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he came and did his, I think he actually worked with us for like a couple months.
Good old Gramercy Tavern guy.
Yeah, for sure. He came from Gramercy Tavern. And then I think it was around that time that article came out about him, like grabbing someone in the dining room by the fucking whatever and ripping him a new one in the dining room. So he got canceled for a little while. And I mean, he's very unfiltered. I also like working with him because I think he's super unfiltered. Yeah. But I think I don't know, it just did not work for me. I was like, it's not working. So. Well, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a talented guy, but he's one of them dudes that got shit handed to him. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? His restaurant, I believe, is just like his parents or somebody just like, here you go. You know what I'm saying? We played basketball with him a couple times, and I remember going over to his apartment and being like, oh, okay, I see what you got going on here, right? And it's like, obviously not taking anything away from him. But he's still open, isn't it not? Yeah. So it's all still open, yeah, for sure. How many Michelins? One? One Michelin. They just retained this out this year again. There you go. Is he still in there every day? Oh, every day. Boom, there you go. What I respect about him so much, he's like, we're all going to work 12 hours a day. And I will be there with you. Yeah. All throughout the way. If you have anything, you just come straight to me and talk it out. Yeah. There was no what I liked about that place. There was none of the middle bullshit, that HR bullshit in the middle. There's none of that. It's just, it's an open floor. You can just speak your mind. And I think what I took from there is just not giving, because I was super filtered up until this point. Yeah. I understand what you're saying there. You had to, you're kind of watching your P's and Q's. Yeah. And it's well, you kind of need to do that for a couple years to get your experience and then be yourself. But when you do that, you lose a lot of people that were with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? But fuck that, man. Shine on, star. Fucking shit. Shine on, you crazy diamond. I don't give a fucking shit. Is this the restaurant that you were like, I don't give a shit anymore? Oh, I think that's where my mentality it's I don't give a shit. It's take me as I am or fucking leave. I don't give a fuck. You can fire me. Go ahead. Be my guest. And now I'm back at Acquerello. And love working with Chef Suzette. Shout out to her again. She really is still, she's almost 70 and she's working on the line every night. That's fucked. Is that restaurant open 7 days a week? No, it's open 5 days a week. 5 days a week. It's a Saturday. Got you. Sunday, Monday. Okay. She is there every single day, and she's such a hard worker. And she drives people to do better. Yeah. She's always what can we do? She
almost curates each individual's experience to their needs and requirements, which is like really amazing.
Wow.
Which is like, she will ask you like, what are your goals? What, like when you do your post-stage interview with her, she will sit down with you, and it's an hour-long interview, mind you. Like it's like you finished a busy service. She's going to sit down with you, and she's going to be like, okay, what are your requirements? Like, what are you looking for? Where is your mind at? Like, she really gets into what she's good at is really playing into the mentality of the person, getting them to give their potential to the restaurant and see how she can benefit from it and how they can benefit from it. A two-way street, which a lot of restaurants do not do.
Yeah.
Frankly speaking, they're very, this is my business. This is what I want. This is what I want you to give me. And everything else doesn't matter. What you want to do, I don't care. Like, it's more like a formality to ask someone at other restaurants that, what do you want to do? It's kind of, it almost feels like a formality. No one really invests in another person's dreams.
Yeah.
Because frankly speaking, it's restaurants like are very brutal places. Like, you know, to like, it's a hard environment because it's like, you have to do all these, like, you have to do physical activity every single day. You need to push on the line. You need to keep going. You need to put this out, that out, organize. And it's like, a lot of small little things combined into a role. And it's a hard place. And the owners, especially in fine dining, are actually even not in fine dining anymore. Like, standards are important. And to maintain those standards, you need people to show the fuck up and do their best. Sometimes you just don't have to give a shit about what they think or what they do. So,
right.
And that kind of like builds into like, I just personally, I think like places should offer people to take paid time off, even if they're hourly, because right now I feel like only managers or salaried people get it. And it's just like, if somebody has been with you for 2.5, 3 years, and like, there's always that one person who's been there for 5+ fucking years.
Yeah.
They should have the opportunity to get a little paid time off. Like, let them know that the restaurant cares about you. Like, we care about what you think. We care about what, like, we care about your dreams. We value your service to this restaurant for 5+ years, which in this city, mind you, is like a luxury. Very few people are left that want to work in a place for 5+ years. A lot of people in hospitality are moving on. They're finding other avenues because they know, especially in fine dining, it's like, you work there a year, you get it on your resume, and then you skitty bop. Like, bye, girl. See you tomorrow or never. And like, and they're these are the people that are the first to badmouth the place as soon as they leave or when they're on the job. And it's like, why would you want to do that? Like, the impression you create of yourself in that point is the thing that people will remember you for. It's not what you say on the job. It is what you say off the job that actually makes you or makes you a better person or a better cook. And if you shit, like, I love that the shit talking is a great way to like release your stress, but it's like, to what extent are we going to keep doing it? Like, let's talk shit. Like, absolutely. I would happily engage in talking shit. But it's like, more not in a way that demeans a place. I think keeping respect to the place, I would adjust myself to kind of like give this place enough respect and let them actually make that, like,
right.
Kind of, to be very honest, give them the respect that they need.
For sure.
You can't take that away from them because they've given you a job, they're paying your bills. You have to be respectful to some extent.
100%. And I think it also happens when we go out to eat. Like, there's a level of respect because we're in the industry. If you had a bad meal and you really cared, you'll send an email a couple of days after your meal. You know what I'm saying? If you feel the need to say something. But there's a lot of people that will go out and talk shit during the meal. A lot of chefs out here like, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that. Well, guess what, bitch? You don't have your own restaurant.
Exactly.
Right? You're going in somewhere to eat. And it's like, like I said, if you care about them getting better and you have an opinion about something, And if you have anything to say about concept, I think that's your opinion, right? Because it's concept. Now, if the meal every course comes over salted and like the meat's overcooked and the technical skill is not there, then you're like, okay, like something's going on here, But as far as like timing and shit, I think, go to the restaurants, support them. If you have anything negative to say, keep that within your circle because it could really hurt the restaurant.
Exactly. And you don't want to take it away from that restaurant. I've made that mistake. I think I'm very honest about my mistakes and like I'm very open to admitting if I make a mistake because it's like it's easier to admit your mistake and work on fixing yourself than to like cover it up, lie about it, talk shit, and then like you just look like a dick. You literally just look like a dick after that.
For sure.
It's like I've made that mistake and I have learned how to deal with it. Like, I know how to approach a situation like that in the future. And there was a certain individual who's helped me do that. And, I learned from my mistake and that restaurant is successful now and they're doing amazing and they're in a better, like they're doing so much better. I've been there so many times after that and it's amazing. And I just love that, it's an open forum. I think for chefs, they should use like, cooks especially should invest in themselves in a certain way. Like try to like, I know it's not a lot of money you make working as a cook. Current rates are like what places may say like you can work up
$22 to $25 an hour.
25. Actually per my maths, it's actually 25, 44 if you get tipped. If you're a tipped employee, you're in the range of like, if it's a good busy week, you're getting paid in the range of like 25 to 27, 26, 50 in that range. And like, you should at least invest in one Michelin star meal at least every 3 or 6 months.
Right.
Enjoy yourself. Like, go experience what food is. Like, build your knowledge base. You cannot be a bookworm. Like, I think I learned, for me personally, I learned better with food by actually experiencing it and eating it than by actually reading about it. I'm attention deficit and I can't like stay focused on one thing for too long.
Yeah.
That's why like generally something audio or visual, something that actually keeps me engaged because I have a short span of attention and I need to keep myself like super focused on that. So
right.
Focus, like, because a restaurant is always moving. There's always something to see. So it keeps you engaged and it also educates you on what somebody else is trying to do and how they're trying to do it.
Right.
Because a lot is said about a chef through their food, especially places that constantly are revolving. Seasonal tasting menus, go in fall, go in summer. Like experience the seasons change on a plate and enjoy that, savor it because it's like, you never know. You may get so many different ideas. Like I get this question super often is like, Ryan, what kind of food do you make? I'm like, to be honest with you, it's like what I'm feeling. It's where are you coming from? Like, what am I feeling? Like I go to the farmer's market with no grocery list, nothing. I just show up to the market. I'm like, oh, this kale looks nice. I'm gonna get that. Oh, this zucchini looks nice. I'm gonna get that. Oh, peas are in season. I'm gonna get peas. We make so many fun things with peas in India. We make samosas. We do vegetables. We do so many different things. And like, some days I'm feeling Korean. Some days I'm feeling Chinese. Some days I'm feeling Indian. Like, I just don't limit myself to any one region and let everything blend in at its own natural pace. Like, let the ingredients speak to you. Let the freshness speak to you.
Yeah.
Go to a Chinese market. Go and experience something like you've not done before. And, like, kind of build your flavor profile from there. And I think, like, in restaurants right now, it's still, like, it's such a monopoly of, like, purveyors as well. It's, like, it's the same purveyors everywhere, especially in San Francisco. It's like the same people over and over again.
Right.
So
we all have the same food. Every single fucking restaurant's got the same food.
I feel like it is pretty monotone because also we're such a small city. Like we might be a big city, but we're so small in that sense.
Definitely.
It's like we all have the same fucking ingredient. Like I'm telling you, Lazy Bear probably has the same Mount Lassen trout that Angler probably does, and Acquerello does.
Yeah,
we all
sure.
share. Shout out to 4-star Adrian if you're seeing this. What's up?
Yeah, what up, Adrian? Yeah.
So yeah, like we're all using the same ingredients. So like like unless it's aphotic, which is like actually going to fishermen's and stuff.
Yeah.
And sourcing
exactly.
directly from the source and like
Well,
it's
that
what is
that kind of
available.
restaurant, that to me is special, right? Like they're going out, they're making the effort to talk to individual fishermen who are not fucking easy to communicate with, and refuse to learn anything about how restaurants work or what time the shit needs to be there. You know what I'm saying? Which is why most of them are represented by these companies.
Correct.
But it's cool that they're doing that. Shout out to Chef Alfonso out there doing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got the CDC spot.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, from Comey.
Oh, but yeah, I think like also, I think as a cook, now I'm realizing like after taking a step back is that people don't invest in like learning another skill. Like learn something else. Like, for me, I love numbers. Like I'm fascinated by it. Like it drives me. Like I can look at a spreadsheet for hours and I will learn every single formula in there. Like for me, numbers is like a huge thing. And it's like, I think of essential foundation to run your own business someday. It's like learn those numbers because at some point you have to do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's as a sous chef, whether it's as a cook, whether it's as like a mid-level management, you have to learn how to do it and invest in that skill. Like Harvard Business School offers 6 weeks per course. You can do like a finance course, like at least one course, and like learning that essential skill set will give you that cutting advantage over somebody else probably. So like if you're in a management position and you're like, oh, I need to drop food costs, you can like immediately run numbers in your head and be like, oh shit, I can do that. Oh shit, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And like invest in yourself. Like, it's probably $1,750 is, I know it's a lot of money, but it's essential. That's a $1,750 probably towards a 6-figure salary someday. You never know. You can go in so many directions, but like, and like I think like in a certain way, I think like I used to be that way. It's like I used to limit myself.
Yeah.
To like, oh, this is my world, and I'm gonna stay in this bubble, and everything outside it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
After I left Angler, I realized that this bubble is so much bigger.
Yeah.
Like there were things that I learned in there that have helped me go outside and actually experience more things. And this step back is not really a step back. I think it's a step forward in a direction where I want to be in the future. And maybe it's my own business someday. Maybe it's maybe it's a franchise. Maybe I just work at corporate something or nothing. Like, whatever it may be, I have all these essential skills that are like so transferable in so many different ways. And it's like, don't limit that thinking that you only have to do this. Venture out, try something different, put yourself out there. The worst thing that could happen is that you fail. But you at least failed with knowledge. You have that knowledge under your belt, and it'll follow you everywhere you go, anywhere in the world, whether it be the United States, Canada, Latin America, Caribbean, UK, Europe, Asia, Russia, I don't care, wherever. It follows you everywhere because restaurants technically all have the same format and design. You just have to put yourself in there and kind of like carve yourself a little space.
Fuck yeah. Well said. What is your dream in this whole thing of ours here called life?
Honestly, I want to have at some point I want to move to Asia. Asia is probably my favorite place in the entire world. Mumbai, India, Goa. Like there's so many, like I would love to move back to India and kind of find something, like go around all 29 states and find regional cuisine and apply modern technique to it. Like super regional, something that you don't see on menus across the world. People who don't know. I don't chase, like personally, I like niche things. Always work for a niche sector. Michelin Stars are actual niche sector, believe it or not, even though it's widespread. It's a very niche sector because there's only so few of them. But I want to go ultra niche, like a very small scale, where you basically are creating a very curated experience. It's about 15 people I want to dine at a time. Ultra exclusive menu, but showcasing true Indian classics, constantly revolving, seeing what the seasons are. In India, seasons are different, if no one knows. Asian seasons are a little different. They only have three. So there's summer, there's monsoon, and winter. So see how ingredients change across landscapes from the north, from the south, and kind of like create something more nuanced and very like in depth. It's hard to explain in words because it's something that you experience really and see from a perspective of like what a country can be. It's almost like national representation. And because I have such a fond connection to India and all that I've learned over the years, I want to apply it to that and kind of like build on it. Like it's still a concept in progress. Like, you know, it's not that easy. There are chefs that are currently doing it. Pratik Sadhu, he was part of Mask in India, which got recognized by Asia's 50 World Best.
Okay.
So shout out to him. Actually, I've worked with him when I was an intern, when I was 18 at a hotel. He was the executive sous chef there. And he was probably like, he was a genius back then. He was making burrata in a kitchen. He was getting people to try it. And like, you know, in India, it's like people don't value talent. Like, you know, I think he found an investor that backed him in a restaurant, and that restaurant did so good. They got into world's 50 best, and now he broke off after he got it. He's up in the hills, up in North India, and he's opened a restaurant called NAR, Naar, and he basically does like a small, very like you have to technically go into the mountains to find this place. Yeah, and super exclusive menu. He kind of like he's a forager. He likes all the. He did a dinner with Cezanne, and I went for it. Amazing. There's few times at restaurants, if it's serving Indian food, that I tell them to take all the cutlery away. And I ate that entire meal with my hands. Because in Indian culture, eating with your hands means the food is amazing.
Delicious.
It's just divine. And it literally was divine. He made probably one of my best experiences. Wow. Hands down.
Shout out to them. That's crazy. I think I saw them at the farmer's market or something.
Buying strawberries.
Yeah. Something like that. I was like, you got bonjoing with you? You know shit's serious.
Oh, you know when bonjoing is there. You know when
bonjoing is there. It's serious. That's awesome, man. Well, fuck yeah, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
This has
Thank you for
been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
I think the youth out there is going to learn some really nice things from this podcast and yourself.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. So it's the reason why we do this, you know.
Exactly.
It was this is a nice one to play in the kitchen while you prep, you know.
I mean, I think people need to know that there is people out there that experience the thing that they're experiencing. Like that's, I think, super, super important. Like, you know, relatability. Like, I think sometimes, like, I've worked on myself over years, and like, this is where I am today. Yeah. Which is like, you know, I'm thankful for all the experiences and everything to lead me up to this point. But relatability in today's kitchen, in order to survive and be whoever you want to be, you need to have that relatability. You need to be able to connect with your staff, be on a one-on-one basis with them, and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, you know, this is aligned with their dreams, and use their dreams and goals and their drive to further your business to be greater. Because like at the end of the day, without people, what is a restaurant?
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. So
pile of bricks and some fire. That's it.
Hospitality, baby.
That's what I learned when Meadowood burned down.
Oh shit.
I was like, you know, nobody died, thank God. And then I told Chef, I'm like, we have all the people. That's all that really matters. Sure. You know, without the people, it's just a pile of bricks, some fucking stoves. Like that's it.
Food,
you know,
that doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. And
there is no soul behind the food. Then like,
definitely not.
Like,
no.
There, like, in order for a soul to exist, you need to care. Yeah. You need to put in thought, emotion, and all these different. It's a like hospitality is not a business, it's a service, and it's very spiritual almost in nature. I think that's how I've always learned it. It's even as family guests come to my house, like I treat them with like, oh, what do you like? There's always something to give them. Like,
Yeah.
I like to look at it as more of a offering to God. That's how we learn it in Indian culture. It's like you want to make them feel at home, comfortable, and no frills. Simple.
I like that approach. Everyone is God.
Exactly.
It's the way it gotta be.
Period.
Sucio Talk, Oakland. Chef Ryan Pinto. Check him out at Acquerello. Shout out to Suzette Gresham and Chef Seth. Peace out, Bay Area. Yes. That's it, baby.
That's it.
That was beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. That was awesome. I'll put this out, I don't know,